For City Council work session called to order. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Mayor Pro Tem Ham,
Here.
Councilmember Jones,
Here.
Councilmember Broadway,
Here.
Councilmember Pollack,
Present.
Councilmember Matthews.
Present.
Okay. Adoption of the agenda. Is there any changes?
Yes, sir. I'd
Mr.
like
Salmon?
to request a closed session first for personnel issues.
Be moved.
After we adopt the agenda?
Okay. So you want to make it the closed session moved following adoption of the agenda. Is there
Move
any
to
other
adopt.
changes?
Move to adopt.
Any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed? Motion carried. Okay, we're going into closed session. A motion to close and go into closed session.
Make a motion, we close and go into closed session.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Hand.
Evening, council members.
Good evening.
Mike and I have a presentation to kind of build on what the city manager's already done as far as infrastructure and these grants and stuff that are coming down. I was going to go over our project summary. There we go. Let you know how much we've spent over the years, how much we have left as far as unfunded. We've spent about $5.1 million over the past 5 years on completing several of the wastewater replacement rehab. We currently have $15.2 million in water and wastewater projects that are funded one way or another. We also currently have $2.4 million in various other utility projects between the two of us. We have $11.3 million in water and wastewater line rehabilitation in near future projects coming up. I'll expand on all of these projects. We have $3.2 million in requests for water treatment plant, water reclamation facility, pump stations, and the master utility plan under Mike's fiscal year 21-22 budget, right? Correct? Okay. And then we have $187.2 million in unfunded projects for water and wastewater. These are projects that we've identified between the two of us that need to be funded and completed to keep us growing. Because the more demand we put on our infrastructure, you got to keep maintaining it, and we're getting more and more demand on it with development. Past projects the engineering department's been responsible for was phase 1 sewer at approximately $400,000. We use sewer bonds to rehabilitate about 3,600 linear feet of wastewater lines and 75 manholes and associated laterals within the greater downtown area. Prism Engineers and Contractors were the contractor, and they completed that work in January 2016. Phase 2 sewer rehab project was kind of going concurrently with the phase 1. Sewer bonds again, we rehabilitated about 9,300 linear feet of sewer line and about 205 laterals in the greater downtown area. Herring Rivenbark was the contractor. They completed that project in March of 2017. Then we did the Stony Creek Sewer Outfall Rehab Project. It went from Taylor Street all the way to Westbrook Road Pump Station for approximately 11,000 feet of 24 to 48 inch sanitary sewer lines and rehabbing 40 manholes along that outfall. In situ form was the contractor, and they completed that project in April of 2017. Since that time, we have started and almost completed phase 4 sewer rehab at $8.4 million. It's 30,000 linear feet of sewer line rehab, 1,000 manholes, and associated laterals within the greater downtown area. When I say greater downtown area, I mean from Royal Avenue to Elm Street and from Spence Avenue to Center Street. That's what I'm calling the greater downtown area. 2019 infrastructure recovery project. Back to phase 4, that was a Clean Water State Revolving Fund loan. The 2019 infrastructure recovery project was $900,000. It was a Golden Leaf Foundation grant. We rehabbed approximately 4,000 linear feet of sanitary sewer line and approximately 1,000 linear feet of storm drainage along Jefferson Street, up Beach Street, and then it's Audubon or Andrews. They went up there. Then we have the 2020 wastewater system improvements project out at $624,000. We used the rest of the sewer bonds to rehabilitate approximately 2,000 linear feet of sanitary sewer lines and a handful of manholes. Vortex was the contractor, and they should be done this month. And then we have the 2017 wastewater system improvements project at $600,000. It was a Clean Water State Revolving Fund loan. We rehabilitated about 3,000 linear feet of sanitary sewer lines and 12 manholes, mainly along the CSX Railroad at George Street and heading south, and then along Carolina Street, and then near the Little River at Cherry Hospital. And Amliner was the contractor on that project, and they're estimated to be complete this month as well. And we have the 2017 Water System Improvements Project.
Mr. Martin,
Yes, sir.
if you go back, the 2019 infrastructure project.
Yes, sir.
Will that alleviate the standing water that takes place after about a 5-minute downpour right there at Jefferson and Ash? Because I know, I've seen that road torn up several times. I know they had to come back and do work, but will that have something to help with that drainage of that section towards the intersection there that, when it rains, you can't even turn off?
Ash Street is DOT project. Not a project, but a DOT maintained road, and this project here was strictly sanitary sewer, and then where we had some conflicting storm drain, but right there at Ash Street, we didn't have any conflicting. So, that's something that DOT could probably needs to look into if it's causing danger. Whoop, I'm going the wrong way. 2017 Water System Improvements Project is $3.6 million. It's a drinking water state revolving fund loan. It's to upgrade the water line along Salem Church Road from Fedlon Trail to Lane Tree Subdivision. Upgrade the water line from along Elm Street from Madison Avenue to Lee Drive. To upgrade the water line along Ash Street from William to Herman. And also Slocum Street from Westbrook Road to Seymour Johnson Air Force Base. And then we'll create a new pressure zone in the New Hope area with a booster station and reduced pressure appurtenances. The Wooten Company is the engineering consultant on the project. Design is scheduled to be completed sometime in July this year, and possible start of construction would be December or January. And then, of course, we have DOT projects we're dealing with, mainly utility relocations. The current project out there right now is William Street widening from 13/70 bypass to the new Goldsboro bypass. And that project's scheduled to be complete sometime in 2022. They just extended the contract. But it involves about $2.2 million of our infrastructure, and DOT reimburses us 50%. Well, not reimburses us. We reimburse them for 50%. Future projects we have coming up. We've got the 2019 Water System Improvements Project. It's a drinking water state revolving fund loan to replace and abandon approximately 4,000 linear feet of 2-inch galvanized and lead joint water lines throughout the greater downtown area. This one was also our #2 American Rescue Plan funds. That was our #2 priority. Estimated complete, engineering consultant will be selected sometime next month after we select the ones from our current RFQ. Estimated completion is May 2024 on that project. Little Cherry, Big Cherry Pump Station relocation and force main projects, a $3 million project. That is an ASADRA loan to combine and relocate the Little Cherry, Big Cherry pump stations and relocate them outside the floodplain. Estimated completion of that is March 2024, and we'll be selecting an engineering consultant just like for the previous project. Then we have the Phase 3 sewer rehab project. It's $5.2 million. This is the one, this was our #1 American Rescue Plan project. So we are recommending use of the ARP funds for the Phase 3 project. It is currently about 90% complete in the design. It would take us about 18 months to complete the project from picking it up where it is now to constructing it. About 18 months once approved for funding. And then I'm not going to go through all of these, but there's $25.4 million just in my capital improvements program, and Mike's got his own stuff too that he'll point out. But these are the other projects. That one, US 117 pump station improvements, is going to be critical for the growth of city of Goldsboro, and we're going to have to figure out how to either phase that, because it's $14.3 million, looking at phasing it and finding funding for it. So, and then I think Mike's up. Any questions on my part so far? No?
Anyone have a question?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Mayor.
Hi, Mike.
Pro Tem Ham and the rest of the council. Just to kind of piggyback on what Marty talked about, all of those projects are under the ground, so you can't see any of those projects. So the projects I'm going to talk about are above the ground, over 40 locations for our pump stations and treatment facilities. And the industry average, or the industry standard and benchmark of water line replacement is replacing 1% a year. So we need to be replacing over 13,000 linear feet of water pipe and 13,000 linear sewer pipe a year. So when you see those single year projects of 3,000 and 4,000 linear feet getting replaced over the years, we're falling further and further behind the industry standard. Some of the current projects I'm working on are, we're getting underway to start the 1135 project with the Army Corps of Engineers. We were the non-federal sponsor for that project. There was a feasibility study done back in 2015, and that total project is a little over $2 million, and our portion of that was $600,000. So hopefully that project will get wrapped up and within the next year. And we're just wrapping up the plate seller project at the drinking water treatment plant. The cost of that project was around $1.8 million. That was a project that we've really been working on since the 90s. There were several things that we had to do to upgrade the capacity of the plant, and this is the final project to get that capacity upgrade from 12 million gallons a day to 14 million gallons a day. So some of the projects moving forward for me, we already have all of our assets at our plants and facilities. So those assets have a life expectancy, and we need to eventually replace those assets. So a lot of my assets are over 20 years old. They're past their current life expectancy, or they're getting ready in the next 5 years to pass their current life expectancy. One of the things I'll be asking for in the budget is approximately $500,000 to update the utility master plan. We spoke about this several times. The last master plan was done in 2009 with 2008 information. It didn't, at that point in time, 795 and the bypass weren't there. Matthew and Florence didn't hit, all of the new growth for expansion for water and sewers north of the city, so we need to address that. It'll also address things like water audit, you know, the percent of water loss from water production to water build. Where's that water going? Where's it leaking out of our pipes? It'll, you know, get a certified engineer's stamp on the CIP. We've been working with this internal document between Marty, Rick, and I of projects we needed to do, but we can get that certified by an engineer. You know, our pump stations, they're continued to age out. We had 3 bar screens due for replacement, tried to do 1 each year over the last 3 years. And the water treatment plant, some of the upgrades there of replacing transfer switches at the News River pump station, those generators there. We get in a difficult situation when that area floods during our rain events. We have to work with the fire department and PD to kind of assist us to get out there. But you're asking someone to transfer a generator in the rain, in the wind, in a storm event, and it's kind of dangerous. So we're looking to replace those. Our water reclamation facility, I was looking to, you know, replace the UV system. That's aged out. We've spent over $270,000 over the last 3 years in trying to maintain that, replacing parts. Parts are getting harder to source for that. But an hour and a half ago, I cut that from the budget. So where Marty mentioned that I was going to be requesting about $3.2 million in capital improvements, I've already cut about 2.6 to try to, you know, get into our recommended budget this year. And just some things to think about are some large projects for our department in the future. Our filters were built in the 1980s. They've been rebuilt twice at the water reclamation facility. There's a lot newer technology for treatment, for nitrification, you know, to better assist us in meeting our permit limits. I need to replace my belt filter presses. They have a life expectancy of 20 years. The biosolids building and the compost facility were built in 2002. So, you know, we're coming up on 20 years of working life for most of that equipment. Replacing generators at the water reclamation facility. We've got 2 generators there that they've really come in handy over the last 5 years with some of these storms. And then we have to think about the future design, future, you know, water treatment plant and water reclamation facility. How can we handle, you know, new capacity needs? How can we be prepared for economic development opportunities? And some things that we're not sure of yet that I'm hopefully will get addressed if the utility master plan gets approved in the budget is how much longer do we have until we need to build a new water treatment plant? You know, that's going to be a cost of $85 to $100 million. The costs can range anywhere between $5 and $10 per gallon. So when you're talking about 14 million gallons, you can add that up. And what's happening is we have new regulations coming down from the EPA. We have we sample every year. It's called UCMR4. Those are unregulated contaminants, things that we don't even know about right now. And a lot of our friends down in Cape Fear and Wilmington, they've had to spend $43 million upgrading their water treatment plant to deal with PFAS and PFOA and the Gen X that's being created. It's a man-made fluorocarbon, but those are things that could affect us in the future as well. And the other is our partnership with Seymour Johnson Air Force Base to remove those lagoons and equalization basins and to upgrade the facilities so that we can bring the water back into the plant at a quicker rate. That costs us about $30 million. Any questions?
Any questions?
I have a quick question. So, I hear you talk about these are just things that have kind of been, building up over time, but are we behind? Is this how it normally goes, or why haven't we addressed this issue, before now? Because now it seems real pressing. So, what happened in the past that we couldn't get some of these things done?
So one of the things was we worked within our means for a 10-year period. We didn't do a rate increase, to to replace equipment, to work, retain manpower over those last 10 years. And to Councilman Pollock's point, a couple work sessions ago, that 30% rate increase. Well, if we would have just done the 3% for 10 years, that would have been 30%. We'd have been right there. Now we're trying to catch up with all of those things that we're behind on. So for me, maintaining my assets, I can't, if we wait for things to fail, then it only gets more expensive. The bypass pumping that Public Works and Collections has been dealing with over by the Cherry Hospital, that's the bypass pumping is expensive. If I have a generator fail at the Westbrook pump station, I have to rent a generator until we can source and install a new generator. And those costs keep adding up. Like the UV system 3 years ago when I first requested it was about $700,000. Now I'm over $1 million. But in that 3 years, I've also spent $270 just maintaining it. The lamps, the parts that have failed. So it's better managing our assets.
Any other questions? I asked for this presentation because there's been so much discussion lately about our water, our sewers, and so forth. And I felt that the council needed a consolidated, comprehensive presentation of where we are, what we've been faced with, what we're doing about it presently, and what the future needs are. And as you can see, there are millions of dollars of needs that we're faced with. Recently, when I was questioned by the media about our water system, I used the term antiquated. They managed to turn that word into dilapidated. It really is about the same thing. We have an old system here. We have some fairly new things, but we have some antiquated old systems, everything from in the ground as well as above the ground. And I think it behooves us to understand what our situation is. And I would ask Mr. Salmon that we get a update quarterly on some of these projects that are ongoing, so you're keeping the public as well as us informed about where their money is going and how we're meeting those requirements. So I appreciate Mike, both you and Marty, putting together this information. It's lengthy. You all have a copy of it if you want to go dig deeper in it. I'm sure if you have questions, you can go back and ask. Thank you for your input. I appreciate that.
I do have one for you. The projected annexation that Belfast area that was kind of shut down, do we still maintain that where they put hydrants and water lines, even though they weren't annexed? Do we still maintain those lines in those areas?
No, sir, those are county lines out there.
Okay.
The water system is.
The water
They have no sewer, they're on individual
Okay.
septic systems.
Okay.
Yeah, but we, a few years ago, we sold all of the fire hydrants.
Okay.
This is after we put them in,
Right.
and then they de-annexed that area. We
So
sold them to the county system.
So we were reimbursed for what the
A
city?
little bit of it, not completely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not
$6 million
completely.
loss.
Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, new business, donation of property to Hope Restorations. Mr. Octavius.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Ham, council,
Good evening.
staff.
Good evening, Mr. Murphy.
The first of two presentations deals with the recommendation to donate surplus property to the county, to Restoration Corporation. Sheriff Larry Pierce approached me maybe 30 days ago about the idea of the city donating property to this nonprofit organization for the benefit of our community, and they'll elaborate in more detail. So we had a joint meeting that included myself and Jennifer, our planning director, and discussed possibilities. From that meeting, we came up with some ideas. We because we're limited in our surplus properties. We don't have a lot of surplus property. We managed to, we did a good job in getting rid of some of our lots and our property and putting it back on the tax book. So, but this particular property located at 807 Nile Street the tax value is $25,450. It is now city-owned property because the county has conveyed their 50% interest to the city of Goldsboro for the benefit of this project. I've listed this property for sale for over 4 years now. For whatever reason, because it's a non-conforming lot, we were unable to sell it. I recently recommended it for demolition, but before that happened, the county contacted us. Here's a picture of the actual property, which is located right off of, right in the Piggly Wiggly area.
It's near the T.C. Coley building off of Lionel
That's
Street.
right. It's 2
Leslie
blocks.
Street, excuse me, Leslie Street.
It's 2 blocks away from that. So this particular property presents a great opportunity for not only the city to get it back on the books, but for this nonprofit organization. With that, I'll invite Sheriff Larry Pierce and Michelle Bass to tell the story.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, council members. For the last couple of years, the Wayne County Sheriff's Office has tried to develop a program to try to limit and stop recidivism for addicts that are hooked on an opiate and other drugs. And so a couple of months ago, we were able to kick off this program. We were able to achieve and be granted a grant from the federal government. And so we were able to kick this program off a couple of months ago. This program will have several components in it, whether it be education, peer support, job acquisition, things of that nature. But it also has a component that we need for housing, affordable housing, for people once they have gone through our program to have some way, some means for them and their families to achieve affordable housing. In Lenoir County, Hope Restoration has been very successful in doing just what we're offering to do here in Wayne County. And we're hoping that you will help us do this through the conveyance of this property. The Habitat will also come in and hopefully look at properties that and build housing. So it's a joint effort between the city, the county, and Hope Restoration to hopefully give the community some uplift and also these people some hope that are on this program. At this time, I'll let Michelle Bass give you some insight into what we're doing, and she'll introduce you to the Hope Restoration people.
Thank you, Sheriff, and thank you, council members, for your time this afternoon. As Sheriff Pierce was discussing, his initiative to improve recidivism has led to conversations around housing concerns for Goldsboro, North Carolina, which led to talks with Hope Restorations out of Kinston, North Carolina. Hope Restorations Incorporated takes deteriorating homes in the community and they renovate them to more modern standards so that they're safe, affordable, and energy efficient for lower income families. They also give former addicts and those who are incarcerated a way to earn money, and they provide low income families an opportunity to live outside of government housing because they rent below typical market rates. Led by Reverend Chris Jenkins, Hope Restorations Incorporated has a successful track record that is recognized statewide. As a result, they have become a beacon of hope for members that participate with their program by symbolizing how restoring homes relates to restoring lives. Hope Restorations Incorporated starts to fill a gap of service many need in our area. One of those gaps of service is to help those individuals that are graduating from transitional housing programs. Hope Restorations Incorporated program will help those individuals become tenants for their families and continue to transition into home ownership. By transferring the deed of 807 Nile Street in Goldsboro, North Carolina into Hope Restorations Incorporated, it will start the first step towards a housing collaborative, and it will bring many benefits to Goldsboro and our area. One of those benefits is that it will create jobs for addicts and incarcerated individuals in an environment that understands their need to maintain with resources that are professionally aligned for their needs. Another is that it will improve deteriorating homes in our city. They will also bridge gaps for families, for those people that are graduating from transitional homes into the next level, which is to become a tenant. But they will also help lower income families who are unable to access government housing. They have a proven level of experience and performance of renovation of homes and lives. And they will also offer teaching classes such as financial literacy or home ownership or other things that are needed out of their local office, which will be located at 1608 East Pine Street in Goldsboro, North Carolina. Therefore, moving forward, what we want is to continue to improve our transitional housing options for Goldsboro, but we also want to continue to provide homes for Hope Restorations Incorporated, starting within a 3 to 4 radius of 807 Nile Street. We also want to look at the vacant lots in the same area for Habitat for Humanity to build. Therefore, the transfer of this deed starts to build a channel for our residents by giving them an opportunity for a better life, which will lead to a better neighborhood and a better community. What I'd like to do right now is introduce you to Tim Chase, who will be the project coordinator in Goldsboro, North Carolina. He's worked for Hope Restorations for many years. And Ms. Norma Barnes, she is the manager of Hope Restorations, and I'd like to give them an opportunity to speak, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Pleasure being here tonight to greet you, and it's an exciting time for us, for our organization as it's grown from 2015 when we got started on our first property that we got. Let's see, here it is. This was our first property, and it was pretty bad. It had, you go into it, holes in the ceiling, and there was floors that weren't there. The floor joists, everything was completely gone. We like to say, we really should have, this house is one that should have been bulldozed over. But we took this house and we rehabbed it, like I said, including floor joists and all roof, and completely redid it to make it into a really nice 4-bedroom, 2-bath house. The family that moved in there in 2016 is still there, and you can't run them out. They love the house. This is where we're at, and it's one thing I've seen over and over again. I've gotten guys that's come into our program, and they've started on these houses, and they see how dilapidated they are and how they need to be trashed, but yet we didn't. We rebuilt them, and at the end, when they're beautiful homes, you know, I've had several of them come to me and say, you know, that's just like me. I was thrown out in trash, but I know I'm better than that. And they've turned their lives around. We've had people to come through our program. One of them is Mr. Dunk, and he has been with us ever since, working on his very first house. And he's still with us. He has learned a lot, and I have made him my right-hand man. He's one I trust with everything that we've got. We've got people that's come through that's decided they want to become electricians, and they've learned that trade and gone on to work for local electrical contractors. And the same thing with plumbing. We've got people that's come in and said, you know, they enjoyed what they did, but construction wasn't for them. But they've actually gone out and gotten other jobs at other companies and have done well with it. I'd like to say we saved them all. But of course, you're never going to be able to say that, I don't believe. And there are people that's come through our program that has failed, went back into drugs, or has been arrested by their probation officer because they broke probation or something. You know, we provide them with everything that we can to help them build and change their lives and become good, productive citizens. And then we have these homes that are left over that when we're finished, comes good, solid housing again for low-income families. So that's where we are.
I have a question.
Yes.
Because this is actually in my district, and I think it's a great program, but is it commonplace to put a recovering addict in the midst of, I guess, an area that has high crime? I mean, because this area right here is definitely a heavy prostitution drugs. As I pass through that area all the time, I mean, you'll see a lot of illicit activities taking place in that specific location.
Yes, sir.
So is that a common thing that you've had issues with as far as your housing? I mean, renovating a house and putting a family in that situation. I just fear for them going back and delving back into that cycle, being that this actual location is in a high crime, high poverty area.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Because it's surrounded by, it's surrounded by multiple homes within close proximity that may not be fixed and renovated, and the mentality of those individuals, I just don't want those individuals
It's a
pulled
good
into
concern. It is.
that.
I can only tell you what I've seen. One, we have, our people come to our workshop every morning. They meet us there.
Yes, sir.
We take them to the job site. And we have somebody there that kind of supervises all day with them.
Yes, sir.
You know, and then we leave with them and take them back to our shop, and then they go home.
Okay.
So they're kind of supervised as far as that goes, while at the job site. But what I have also found is that when we get in here in one of these neighborhoods and I start fixing that house up, somebody real close by is going to step out and say, okay, they're fixing that house. And they own their house, and they're going to get out and start fixing their house. There's something that was a while back, it's called the broken window theory. And what that is, if a building is in a neighborhood and a window gets broken, next thing you know, there's another window broken and another window broken until the building is just dilapidated. Well, they've reversed it, and this actually come out of New York. They went into a community that was like that, and they took one building and they fixed it. And then the next thing you know is they kept going, and the other property owners decided, okay, let me fix mine too. And that's what we have seen in the neighborhoods that we go into. There are people living in that neighborhood who own their homes. But a lot of them say, well, why fix it up? Look at the rest of the houses. Once they start seeing people in that community caring about that community and fixing it up, then they start caring about their property and start fixing it up also.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chase.
Questions? It is the staff's recommendation that this be an item that's approved during the consent, as a consent agenda item that will be presented by staff a little bit later. Second presentation is ClearPoint Strategy. ClearPoint Strategy is a strategy and performance management software company. This process started 4 years ago when we met during the council retreat and started work on our strategic plan initiatives. The city manager has asked that I present this tonight. This is a culmination of activities that have taken place over 3 years, so we're pretty excited, and we hope that you are as well with what we're presenting tonight. So, ClearPoint Strategy is an all-in-one strategic planning, performance management, project management, reporting software. This is basically going to make processing data from leaders to our systems management easier. It's going to streamline the process. With ClearPoint, we will be automated. Our automation will be we'll take 70% of the manual reporting process away. So it will, in other words, we will simplify the process. Today it takes 3 to 4 hours to make a change and implement that change on our strategic dashboard and document after talking and conferring with our department heads. With this software, department heads will be able to do a lot of that themselves, and the time frame to do it will be reduced again by 70%. So this is a win. This is how our dashboard will look, similar to what we have now. I know it's fine reading, but you will have your goals up here, the mayor and city council goals with clearly defined metrics up here, and we'll have the indicators, the red light, yellow light, green light to show where we're on target to achieving these goals. This is the transparency. This is the accountability that the city manager has asked for from the department head, so we'll be able to identify this utilizing our our website. So you should know that ClearPoint, the return on ClearPoint strategy, the ROI, this is not new to the state of North Carolina. Currently, the city of Durham, county of Durham, city of Raleigh, Wake County, Morrisville, I get those two tongue-tied, and other cities across the state of South Carolina and the whole East Coast participate. They have adopted me as a friend of the family for the past 3 years. They've allowed me to participate in their regional meetings, and now more recently, because we've all gone to a telework environment, a lot of these meetings take place via Zoom or Teams meetings. So they've, again, allowed me to stay an active part of the team. The most significant, or one of the most significant parts of this software package, it allows collaboration between municipalities. They have what you call a measures library. For us, it's a metrics library that you can share information amongst local government entities. So that's significant when it comes to benchmarking results. That's one of the things that the city manager is strong on. We need to be able to present our position, how effective, how efficient we are when it comes to tracking and measuring our results to make those intelligent business decisions. So it's important. Here, as far as the onboarding process, they've already started with me because I've been here 3 years and they've not charged us a dime, but we're just at the point where we are embarking on some really good stuff that I think the city will benefit from. So we've already been assigned an account manager who I've been working with for over 1.5 years, just from an advisory standpoint. So they continue to invest in small town America, which is a very good thing. All right, so at the end of the day, when we went out for informal bids on this, the total package cost around $35,000. We're in the and that was the average cost with 3 different vendors. Today we're just moving forward toward getting to a post-pandemic scenario. So the city manager asked me to seriously consider the cost when evaluating this. So today, this package, this premium support package is $15,600. And that's for a year for 24 users, the onboarding premium support, automatic, it's an automatic time changer, but it's not only web-based, but it's designed to do exactly what you asked, the city has asked us to do, be more accountable, be more transparent, and this presents that opportunity. Of course, there are discounts available if you purchase more than 1 year. 14,820, 3+ years is $14,040. Because of because this is not an approved budget item, ClearPoint has offered us a 15-month agreement, 3 months as a pilot program. Then after the budget has been approved, we can start payments towards this. So it's as far as we're concerned, and as far as I'm concerned, it's a project that is a must for the city of Goldsboro if we anticipate the continued growth. What you don't know, I probably don't know, I have a degree in computer science, so I will be considered the liaison, the training person from ClearPoint to the city of Goldsboro. So a lot will rely on me and the plans that we have for the future. That's just some talking points there. Meet Colin Malthus. Colin is a senior at East Carolina University. He's he majors in economics, and he minors in business administration. Colin started with the city of Goldsboro today. He's an intern that we were very fortunate to receive from the East Carolina Community East Carolina community program that supports initiatives such as what we're doing. The focus that Colin will be working towards, the focus areas are departmental metrics, which means he'll work directly with the department heads and on their budgets. He'll work with the CIP, he'll work with also our relationship with the School of Government. We have a working relationship with the School of Business. So we tap into these benchmarking initiatives already. What he will do is assess and analyze what his findings are and present solutions as we move forward to the future. Because of COVID-19, I'm considered a point of contact for Coronavirus Relief Fund, American Resource Plan, and here we're looking at investing quite a bit of money in public utilities, the infrastructure needs, and in addition to that, the homeless issue that is before us. I'm the point of contact for that. So, and then coming right behind that, American Jobs Plan and Americans Family Plans. There's a lot of initiatives going on. So this software will, without a question, support the initiatives that are going, that are taking place. And Colin will be able to assist us on a city manager level because pretty strong kid. He interviewed against 9 other candidates, such as yourself, with the steering committee that we had here, and he was the top performer. So he competed for the opportunity. It was just not given to him. So we're excited about this and excited about what ClearPoint strategies will do to support our initiatives. Any questions?
No, I'd like to just meet him sometime when I happen to be up here, just to, welcome to the city. And someone coming in that situation, I think that is good for us. It gives him experience. Hopefully we can, and I'm sure we will, we'll gain by his presence here. So it's a two-way street there.
Oh, absolutely. And to that point, this work experience is a virtual experience. He'll actually telework from his house. He's actually hired by the East Carolina University, but is funded by the State Employee Credit Union. Mm-hmm. So they'll be paying his salary for participating and working with the city of Goldsboro. It's a wonderful opportunity for us, and Colin will be a part of our staff meeting in the morning, so he'll get introduced to the department heads. It's when you have this kind of young energy, it's a good thing. It's a good thing, and he graduates in December, so we're looking forward. Any questions?
Yes. We're looking for some concurrence for council, right? To need to sign a contract. Should this not work out in the next 3 months, you don't have to complete it, but basically for
The 15,000 that will be in the next budget cycle, we would have to find that and put it in the budget. So.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
So I asked Obi to come up and do a presentation for council and let you know all where we're at with the golf course.
Some issues in the FY 21-22 budget. Who's the best wing in the club there?
Good evening, council members, everybody. This is my first time standing before you before everybody. I think I've been in one event and I just said yes. I walked out the door. So I'm happy to be here. I figured it was time to give you an update on your investment. 2 years ago I was brought in, well, almost 2 years, October of 2019 to take over the golf course and try and get something positive back to the city. And hopefully we have some good news to show you today. And if I keep going backwards. So on a positive note, over the years, from 2017, 2018 fiscal year, the golf course has been on an uprise. It's been going up. I'm not saying we didn't lose money in 2017, 2018, or 18, 19. We did. But the revenue was on a trend upwards. And currently, just to put it, just to show you what we've done currently so far, right now we are $90,000 in the good. We have made $90,000 at the golf course. We predict we'll be over $110,000 for the year. So as long as Mother Nature doesn't play an evil part in planning, the golf course has been doing well. It's been across the board, month to month. We've been doing 11 to 14% better per month, comparing it with last year, 2 years ago, and so on and so forth. So I figure that's good news for everybody to hear, since it's been a sore subject for the city over the years. And we have some current projects that we have going on right now. I think last time we were in here, we talked about a new point-of-sale software for the golf course to help us with a lot of stuff, making it easy for people to book tee times online, being able to target the consumer through email, the new technology that we have right on their phones. The new point-of-sale system is now active. You can now book your tee time online. We're still waiting. I think in the next couple of days we should have a golf course app where you can book your tee time on an app. The App Store hasn't yet approved it, but that's coming soon. Yes.
Which software did you?
We went with Chrono Golf.
That's a good.
Yes, we went with Chrono Golf. I think Lane Tree tried it. They didn't like it so much, but I don't think they had the person there that needed to, that could dig into the software. But I think the software is good. Good news is we're not on any contract. If we don't like it, we can get rid of it. Try another one. So that's good. So and there's been some drainage problems at the golf course. Everybody knows that. That area is located very low. All the houses in the area tend to actually call us and tell us that we're giving them water, but they're giving us water. So with that, we've tried to clean out all of our drains on the golf course. If we clean out our drains, if we don't get that massive amount of water, it helps the community behind us. It drains a little better. I'd have to thank Public Works for sending their guys out there to help us. On the driving range, they cleaned out a very major ditch there, and they're looking at another one. And that will help alleviate some of the flooding happening on the backside. I don't know the roads very well, but behind the golf course around John Street and John Street area will alleviate the flooding there a little bit, drain a little faster. On course work, we have trees. We were supposed to take down a lot of trees this December, but the weather was not favorable for us to get heavy equipment on the golf course. I think we were able to take down a couple of them. I don't know how much we're going to get done this year. We are really busy. There are a lot of other projects that we need to work on the golf course, but we hope to do some tree work. Greens patchwork, the greens in no way are bad at all. They are actually pretty good. We do have some areas of stress that we have been working on, and by this time next month, they should be all taken care of. We actually half the golf course was closed today because we were punching the greens today. And with that, we're going to resod some areas, so that's going to take care of itself over time. Upcoming projects, we have a lot of them. With your help last year and the year before, the golf course has been moving in the right direction. However, there are some needs that I feel like the golf course will need in order to actually get past that area of make money one year, lose money one year. If we want to continue to make money, I think some staffing is going to be required. In the pro shop, we have only assistant part-timers. They're limited to a number of hours, and also their rate of pay is also limited. I'm the only full-time employee in the shop right now. We have asked for a full-time employee, another full-time employee in the shop to be, by cutting off some of our part-time employees to move that money over so we can create a position. Same thing with the maintenance department. The superintendent is the only full-time employee on the golf course side for the maintenance. So keeping part-time employees is very hard. It's very difficult. So sometimes I'm needed at a meeting, I can't go because I got to work. So it's important that we look into that a little bit more in detail over this budget, next budget. Hopefully we can get those positions filled. Golf carts, we have 50 of them. You did make a good choice buying the golf carts years ago. That in conjunction with allowing us to hire a mechanic. He's kept those golf carts going over the years. The golf carts have paid for themselves already. So everything else we get out of them is good. Unfortunately, we need some more because we run out of golf carts at least 4 times a day. 4 times a week. So we have 50 golf carts, and we're averaging, I'll just give you an example. This last weekend, Friday, we had a tournament in the morning, 7. That evening, we had another 80 golfers out there. We ran out of golf carts before 3 o'clock in the afternoon after a tournament. So that's busy for us. That's good. It says a lot. The golf course is in good shape. People will come out and play. So in the near future, we have to look at trying to restock our golf cart. Not necessarily buy a new fleet, but try to add a few more. Get us to 55, so we won't inconvenience customers walking in the door. Maintenance equipment. We have some old equipment. We have a sprayer that's been there for 17 years. It finally gave out on us. In our budget, we have inquired and asked about a sprayer. We have various ways that we can acquire one. We hope it gets approved because we need it. Without the sprayer, the golf course it's going to be hard to keep the golf course in good shape because we have to spray for weeds, we have to spray the greens, and so on and so forth. As far as merchandising is concerned, the pro shop, slowly but surely we're getting there. I think Bill was there last month ago. He saw the pro shop. It's getting there, but we still need some stuff in it. If we stock the pro shop correctly, we can make money. It is making money now. That's the good news, even though we don't have it fully stocked. I'm thinking about having a pro shop stocked with close to $70,000 worth of equipment. The more stuff you have in there, the more you sell. And that's not hard goods. I'm talking about just balls, tees, the regular stuff people buy and walk out. I have sold sets of golf clubs, but I sell clubs based on fitting. You come and get fitted, I sell you a club. And we have sold, I don't know, 5, 6 sets in the last month or last couple of months, so we've been doing good. So it's been making money. So that's something that we need to think about next time we do our budget, so we can try and get our funding on merchandising up a little. These are just marketing plans, ideas to try and get people out there, to keep the people coming out there. I would admit COVID had a lot to do with getting people out the house because they were bored to do something. Now the challenge is retaining them. I feel like we have a good plan and we can retain the ones we have. Our membership has been cleaned up. Back in the past, it wasn't really all clear, but now it's cleaned up. We know who's a member and who's not. We have a little fluctuating in the membership because of the base. These people are only here for a certain number of months or maybe a year or two, and they get relocated. So we lose that membership. I think we're going to lose probably close to 10. Or we've lost them already, actually, because they're being relocated somewhere else. So, but the good news, the new ones come in, they'll come and join. So the whole idea is making sure that we get to fill those empty spots up. Also been in contact with the activity center on the base, and they've been helpful trying to get the news out. We have some programs in the future that we're going to start trying to get some of those who don't play golf and their kids doing clinics and so on and so forth. So that's been in the talk. So hopefully, now that COVID-19 is actually on the downside, maybe we can get some more programs started. We just did a kids program. We had 26 kids in there. It was, I don't know if, not everything has been put on Facebook yet, but they had a blast. I mean, we did it for 5 weeks. It was a 4-week program. We added another week because it was so much fun, and did an extra week. So that went really well. And this is just the same thing about targeting what we're doing. I always claim that our POS system is going to have a lot to do with this. My POS system can target you who hasn't been there for a year. You'll send me an email and say, hey, Bill hasn't been here a year. Send him an email. Get him to come out. Send him around for 1 free. Do whatever it takes to get the golfer out there. So I'm really excited getting down in this new POS system that we have right now. Yeah, and the same thing, these are our strengths. One thing I've always liked about the golf course, it's close to downtown. The area it's in, I always felt like it's important to educate the mass on why we need the golf course in the area. What does it do for our quality of life? Can a price be put on quality of life? If it could, what percentage does the golf course contribute? I think that's more of what we need to educate our mass, especially those that don't play golf. Those that say, why do we need a golf course? Well, we need it because how far do you live from the golf course? 2 miles? Your property value goes down once the golf course goes away. You know, stuff like that. They don't quite understand why a golf course is needed, even if they don't play. It's for the quality of life. Same thing with Parks and Rec, the parks, the same thing, so on and so forth. So I like the fee structure of our golf course. I think our fees are very, very compatible, very fair. Our membership, I don't think I've heard anybody complain about the price. So I'm hoping we get things stay the same so we don't have to go up on our prices, keep our membership the way they are. I forgot to mention, we did lose a few members last year also to health issues and death. So it's been a rough year for everybody because of COVID-19. And of course, the weaknesses of the boundary, we need to look at probably redoing our fence lines. Some are torn down. The municipal name in the golf course has been taken out, so we don't call it Goldsboro Municipal. So when I go to Raleigh and tell them we have a golf course, we have Goldsboro Golf Course. When people see the word municipality on it, they think it's not being maintained. So we're trying to change that persona. So we call it Goldsboro Golf Course now. It's taken on quite well. We haven't been vandalized in a while, so that's a good thing. Opportunities, expansion of the clubhouse. Now we're operating off that one room on the side of the building, plus the bathrooms are also under our care. We have considered different avenues to try and rate and.
Excuse me, sir. We're running short of time
Okay.
here. Could you sort of, don't mean to cut you off.
No, it's fine.
We've got to wrap it up
Talk
here.
about the opportunities real quick, and
Okay.
then we go into the 7 o'clock session.
All right, sorry. Okay, the opportunities is golf simulator. For about 70 miles radius, we don't have a commercial golf simulator that we can install. People can use, play different golf courses, make money, which means in December, we can actually break even. If not that, make money. So that's something we did put in the budget. We had to take it out because of, we had to make some adjustments. We hope that you guys will consider it later on in the future. Sorry, took a little bit of time. And would like to thank the committee. They've been helpful. I'm not going to go through all that, but this is what they've done. The back to school drive, camp food drive. We are going to do one again. We tend to donate our stuff to the school behind in our community. And they've been very constructive with recommendations on the golf course. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
You're doing a good job out there.
You're good.
Thank
Good
you.
job. Great.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. At this time, we'll end the work session. Motion to recess this to the regular session, then we'll just go into the regular session.
Make a motion to conclude work session and open up at 7 o'clock for our regular session.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Okay, it's 7:01, and The Goldsboro City Council regular meeting is now scheduled, and at this time, we will call the meeting to order. And Ms. Councilwoman Jones, would you say the invocation, please?
Sure. Let us bow our heads and prepare our minds for prayer. Oh, gracious and heavenly Father, we thank you for this day that you have given us and that you have made. Psalm 24 says that the earth is yours and the fullness thereof. Therefore, that means that the earth, the city of Goldsboro, belongs to you. We ask that you give the city council wisdom and understanding on how to prosper this city. Only through your guidance can we be a unified city. I ask you, Father, for your help. James 1:5 says that if anyone lacks wisdom, that he is to ask the Lord. We ask that you guide us through this agenda tonight and through every agenda, therefore. May we make Goldsboro a prosperous city through your guidance. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Please join me with the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Take a seat, please. Madam Clerk, would you conduct a roll call?
Mayor Pro Tem Ham,
Here.
Councilmember Jones,
Here.
Councilmember Broadway,
Here.
Councilmember Polat,
Present.
Councilmember Matthews.
Okay, we normally would have gone through the consent agenda items in the work session, but time did not permit for that, so we'll take those up after we have finished the public comment period. Okay, item 4 on the agenda is approval of minutes. We have approval of minutes for the work session and regular meeting of April 5, 2021, and minutes of the work session and regular meeting of April 19, 21. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as stated?
Motion to approve minutes of the work session, regular meeting April 5th, 2021, minutes of work session and regular meeting April 19th, 2021.
Is there any discussion? Is there a second?
Second.
All approval, please raise your hand. Any opposed? Okay. At this time, we have some presentations. First one being the 2018-2019 audited financial statements. And
good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. Tonight, we have the presentation of the FY19 audited financial statements. General Statute 159.34 requires that an annual independent audit be performed and that the local government have its accounts audited as soon as possible after the fiscal year end by a certified public accountant. The auditor shall be selected by and shall report directly to the governing board. Tonight we have partner in charge, Mr. John Frank and Mr. Chad Cook, both CPAs here in North Carolina, who will present a summary of the FY19 audit to the council.
thank you. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem and members of council. Appreciate you allowing us to join you this evening to review a few highlights of the 2019 audit. We put together a slide deck this evening that summarizes the results for our audit that we're going to review with you. But please don't hesitate to chime in if you have any questions or comments that you'd like to make. But if we could look at the next slide in this presentation. Oh, there is a clicker here. I was waiting for somebody else to do that. So let's see if I can get this right. Push it down?
No.
Oh, okay. I need to point it the other way. Oh, this one? Well, no, that was right. Oh. I should have allowed the younger guy to handle the technology.
He's the young guy.
But anyway, on this first slide, we state that we've audited the city's financial statements as of June 30, 2019. We state that our responsibility as independent auditors is to express an opinion on the financial statements and perform an audit to obtain reasonable assurance that these statements are free of material misstatement. We've also shown a summary of the services we performed for this year, which consisted of an audit of the 2019 financial statements. We also performed a compliance audit in accordance with the uniform guidance. And additionally, we performed a pension examination for 2019. Just to give you a brief background on that pension examination, each year the state of North Carolina judgmentally selects participating governments in the local government employees retirement system for testing of data that's submitted to the system in arriving at their measurement of pension liabilities. Goldsboro was selected for 2019. We performed this examination and had no findings related to the data that was submitted to the state. The next slide, oops, there we go. Okay, there we go. There's a little late. Okay, our independent auditors report. We've summarized the contents of this report. We state that we expressed an unmodified opinion on the fair presentation of the basic financial statements. And this year's report also included an emphasis of matter paragraph. This paragraph draws attention to the fact that restatements were made to beginning net position in the governmental activities and business type activities to correct errors that were detected by management and by us as auditors. And restatements were also made to beginning fund balances in the general fund and the other governmental funds. On the next slide, we prepared a summary which shows the impact of these prior period restatements. Two columns there. One shows the effect of restatements on the city's governmental activities. The second column over shows the effect of restatements on business type activities. At the top of that, each column we show the balances that were previously reported, and then we show the impact of the adjustments that were identified. Under governmental activities, we've grouped these restatements into 4 categories. Capital assets, receivables, notes receivable were all increased from previously reported amounts, as you can see here. And notes payable were reduced by this amount shown, $195,000. Under business type activities, capital assets were increased, receivables were decreased, and notes payable were increased by the amount shown. Then we also have a summary of these prior period restatements on the fund level financial statements. In the first 2 columns, we've shown the impact to the city's general fund and other governmental funds, and in the third column, we've shown the impact on the city's utility fund. In these first 2 columns, where we summarize adjustments to the general and governmental funds, the first 2 line items, the due to, due from, and capital project closure, are really just reclass adjustments between those 2 fund categories, no net impact to total fund balance. The next item down shows a $643,000 increase to receivable and reserve adjustments. Then in the third column over, where we've shown the impact to the utility fund balance, you can see that there were adjustments to capital assets, receivables, and notes payable, which all resulted in an increase to the utility fund balance. And then there was also an adjustment to the receivable and reserve accounts that reduced fund balance. Bottom line is, we had mentioned to you in our previous updates to the council, the net impact of all these prior adjustments was actually to increase your net position and to increase the fund balance, as we've shown in these two slides. So, you know, no negative impact was discovered as a result of the audit. To, you know, amounts that were previously reported, they were actually increased. And in the next few slides, we've tried to present at a very high level some of the more meaningful numbers from your financial statements. I mean, as you can see, if you've had a chance to look at the comprehensive annual financial report, governmental financial statements are very detailed and voluminous. So we just tried to summarize some 4-year trends that we thought would be of interest to you. On this first slide, we've shown total general fund balance available for appropriation, total general fund expenditures, and available fund balance as a percentage of expenditures over the last these 4 fiscal years, 2016, 17, 18, and 19. As you can see, the overall trend in the general fund is that fund balance available for appropriation has been on the decline, and expenditures have been increasing over the last 4 years. And also, if you look at the last line, you can see that percentage has decreased as well. Just for reference, I'm sure you're aware, the Local Government Commission recommends that you maintain at least 8% of a year's worth of expenditures in available fund balance. And, you know, as you can see at the end of 2019, you were very close to that minimum. And we've also put together a graph here that you know, might help you visualize what the trends look like. That top line, the red line, represents general fund expenditures, and the blue line represents your available fund balance. So, you know, you can see that expenditures increasing, available fund balance, you know, has been trending down a little bit. In the next couple of slides, we've shown some results from the utility fund. The first line shows utility revenues on a budgetary basis, followed by expenditures and working capital at the end of each of these fiscal years. Just as a reference point, working capital refers to current assets such as cash and receivables, excluding restricted cash, minus your current liabilities. It's basically a measure of liquidity in the utility fund. So you can see here that revenues have been increasing some, but that they have not kept up with, you know, the increase in expenditures during this period. And working capital, you know, had remained fairly steady for fiscal 2016, 17, and 18, but declined in fiscal 2019. And, you know, here again we have a graph that should help you visualize, you know, the trends in this fund. That blue line represents expenditures, the orange line is utility revenues, and that red line, which starts to decline in 2019, is working capital. So, the next slides I'm going to review with you relate to the compliance audit. You know, as I mentioned, in addition to the financial audit, auditors also perform a compliance audit. We issued 3 separate reports related to this compliance audit. The first report is a report on internal controls over financial reporting. We reported 2 findings as a result of this portion of our audit. The first relates to the prior period restatement, you know, that we discussed. Management's required to provide a response to these findings, and management's response to the first finding is that these errors were caused by a number of factors, including retirement of 2 key management personnel prior to 2019, deficiency in succession planning, and the lack of written procedures. Current management has sought to address these these issues and has added staff and is still looking to fill some part-time positions.
Sir, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Explain inadequate written procedures.
I think when your current finance officer assumed the finance officer's position, you would normally expect an accounting manual of some sort that outlines controls, processes, so that if there is a transition that's either planned or unplanned, there could be a seamless handing off of responsibilities. And that wasn't the case. Like I said, these procedures have been updated, documented. I think you'd agree that the city's in good shape now in that regard, but because of the lack of written procedures, there was a difficult transition period, which led to this big delay in the audit.
Good, thank you.
Okay. Second finding, which is really an extension of the first finding, is that the city did not file its annual disclosure of financial and statistical data by the deadline. And again, management's response is that written documentation has been added to ensure that compliance will be adhered to in the future. On the next slide, we referenced a report on federal financial assistance, and had one finding here, again related to the first two, and it was that the financial and compliance audits for fiscal 2019 were not filed by the deadline. Again, management's response is that written procedures have been put in place to ensure that these requirements will be met in a timely manner going forward. And then finally, we do a report related to your state financial assistance, and there were no specific findings related to question cost over state financial assistance programs. So I know that really just scratches the surface of what's a very large report, but be glad to answer any questions you might have about the 2019 audit.
I'll just start off and ask a question that seems to be a question I get asked occasionally. Did you find any wrongdoing in this budget that would lead you to believe, or did you find specific evidence of any wrongdoing that would be considered fraud or whatever?
Yeah, no instances of fraud, suspected fraud, were identified as a result of the audit. So,
in a city of this size, and I know you'll have many clients, and some of them of cities of our size, we are concerned about our fund balance, of course.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big deal,
mm-hmm.
and it qualifies us for a lot of things that the average person doesn't know about. And I'm not sure I know all of them for that matter. I don't for that matter. But nevertheless, I know that we're not where we'd like to be. But in your overall view of cities our size, and I know you can't, it's apple and oranges, I understand that. But what's your general impression or feelings about it?
Well, there's actually a tool you can use on the Local Government Commission's website, which allows you to compare fund balance percentages and some other statistics to to members of your peer group. But I would say if I had to kind of shoot from the hip, just based on my experience, normally for a city the size of Goldsboro, you would typically see probably somewhere in the 40% range, high 30s, mid 40s.
So we're a long ways from that.
I think it probably
probably
address this issue and plan to build that fund balance to a more manageable level, just to protect yourself against unknown expenditures that might occur. That's the real reasoning behind the LGC's recommendations to maintain at a minimum a month's worth of expenditures in fund balance just, because of the unknowns and because of seasonal fluctuations in revenue collections. But, yeah, I'd say if you're looking for a number, my unofficial, guess would be 40% is probably close to what you would see for a municipality this size.
We haven't had a chance to look at the budget, the audit that was just given it to us this evening, but I'm sure we will. But in the meantime, does anyone else have some questions here?
Well, the only I had, you answered it, about I wanted to know why did it take so long. I'm still new, but I do know a little something, enough to be dangerous. But I realized that it was very late, and you did answer that. But there was a statement that you said about, you says, not keeping up with the increase in expenditures. So does that mean that we were purchasing or doing things or had financial things that we really didn't have the money for? Is that what you meant, or what did you mean by that?
Well, and ma'am, I think you're referring to the utility fund or the general fund?
General fund.
Yeah, I think what I was pointing out is that expenditures, just for all general fund categories of expenditures have been ticking up, because of inflation and growth and things like that. But the revenues, haven't been going up at the same pace, which, you can only do that for so long before fund balance begins to take a hit. So we were just trying to point out that, things aren't really moving in the right direction consistently. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
I have a question. Because it seems apparent that our current finance director was kind of blindsided due to the lack of proper verbiage. So do we have the transparency now moving forward with the correct verbiage in the event that she were to leave, that her successor would have the right information in front of them moving forward?
My understanding is yes. Certainly Ms. Gwynn could expand on that a lot more than I could, but yeah, significant improvements have been made. Accounts that had not been reconciled for quite a while have been now. So, yeah, I think it's fair to say that transition wouldn't be similar to, what you experienced for fiscal 2018-19.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Well, sir, I noticed this has been a challenging experience for you. You've been under a lot of pressure from us, not individually, but as a general statement to complete this. We've been under a lot of pressure from the public, from the media, the whole bit. And it does my heart good to see you standing here tonight. But we're not through yet. We've got, we just finished one, we got another one to go, and then another one after that. So the work continues. I appreciate your cooperation and working relationship with Ms. Gwynn and other people that you've come in contact with. And we take this, our finance director and manager and department heads and so forth, and the council look at it. There's lessons to be learned out of this, both from how it was done, not on your part, but on our part, and meaning the audit itself and getting it ready for the audit. And we go from here.
Okay.
And thank you for your time and coming in and speaking with us.
All right. Well, thank you for having us this evening. And as you mentioned, you just received the report. So if you have any follow-up questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You probably don't want to stick around for the rest of this, but you can.
Thank you, Joe.
All right. Thank you. Okay. The next thing is presentation. It's something that I'm going to do myself. This is an important presentation that I'm going to ask Ms. Melissa Capps, our clerk, to come forward. Melissa's been here for 16 years. 16 glorious years, but she's leaving us. You know, we have 480 some employees at work with us, and every one of them do something that contributes to the welfare and the living of this city. And very few of those people are ever recognized in terms of what they do in their jobs and so forth. The public doesn't see that. They go about doing their job on a daily basis. They create things, they turn on switches, they fix pipes, they clean garbage, they pick up garbage, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, they do a multitude of things that we take for granted. We don't even think about it. And this is one of those individuals as well. She keeps with her support over here. Laura keeps City Hall, the mayor's office, and the city manager's office running. She has a world of experience, and she has chosen to leave. She's got opportunities that she wants to go to, and we're going to hate to see her leave. She's leaving officially the 1st of June. Said she's been here for 16 years. That's more than twice the time I've been on the city council, about half the time that some elders have been here. And I think the only person that would be sitting here tonight to have more time with her than she would be Mayor Allen. And unfortunately, he can't be here. And I know you wish he was here. But I wanted to read the resolution expressing appreciation to Melissa Capps for service to the city of Goldsboro for more than 16 years. Whereas on July 1, 2005, Melissa Capps began her career with the city of Goldsboro as an office assistant with the city manager's office. And whereas on March 22, 2006, Melissa's position was reclassified as deputy city clerk with the city of Goldsboro. And whereas on March 19, 2007, Melissa was promoted to city clerk with the city of Goldsboro. And whereas Melissa holds a prestigious master's municipal clerk certification through the International Association of Municipal Clerks and the North Carolina Certified Municipal Clerk through the North Carolina Association of Municipal Clerks. I have a lot of clerks in there. But anyway, she's really qualified. And whereas Melissa has served the North Carolina Association of Municipal Clerks on the board of directors and has served 2 terms as district board director and has served on numerous committees with the association. And whereas Melissa also serves as a board member of the North Carolina League of Municipalities. And whereas Melissa has served the citizens and the staff of the city of Goldsboro with a smile, which we demonstrated here already, and a positive attitude and an infectious laugh, and will be missed by her friends, colleagues, and she says tears occasionally, and missed by her friends, colleagues, the mayor, city council, and the citizens of the city of Goldsboro. And whereas the mayor, city council, and city manager would like to recognize the contribution that Melissa has made to the city of Goldsboro over the past 16 years. Now therefore be it resolved by the city council and the city of Goldsboro, North Carolina, that the mayor and city council expresses to you, Melissa Capps, on behalf of themselves, city employees, and the citizens of the city of Goldsboro, our appreciation and gratitude for your unselfish, devoted, and invaluable service and contributions rendered to the city of Goldsboro. This resolution shall be incorporated into the official minutes of the city of Goldsboro and shall be in full force and effect from and after the 17th day of May, 2021.
Thank you.
Well, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to serve the city of Goldsboro for as long as I have. I'm going to value it. the friendships I've made along the way, and I'm gonna miss everyone, but I'm excited at the new opportunity that I have. And I thought that I'd share that I'll be going not too terribly far away, just over to Harnett County to serve as the clerk to the board there, so. Thank you
Does
guys.
anyone else want to speak?
Well, we're gonna miss you.
I'm gonna miss you guys too.
We're really gonna miss you.
Goldsboro has been my home for quite some time now, and a big part of my family, so I'm not gonna go too far.
It was to be reached by telephone and text.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you, Melissa.
Okay. Next thing on is public hearings on the agenda. And the first thing up is CU 621, David L. Hood, accessory dwelling, west side of Andrews Avenue. And I'll let Jennifer continue.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
Item D is CU 621, David Hood. It is an accessory dwelling. It's the west side of South Andrews Avenue between Laurel Street and East Pine Street. The applicant is requesting a conditional use permit for the construction of accessory dwelling located at 307 South Andrews Avenue. According to the city's Unified Development Ordinance, accessory dwellings are permitted in all single-family zoning districts or developed lots with the exception of the agricultural zoning district only after the obtainment of a conditional use permit approved by City Council. Approval criteria for accessory dwellings are as follows. Accessory dwellings apartments must comply with all applicable local, state, and federal housing codes. Only one accessory dwelling or apartment may be permitted per lot. The accessory dwelling or accessory apartment shall not exceed 40% of the square footage of the livable area of the principal structure or 1,100 square feet of gross floor area, whichever is less. An accessory dwelling shall be sited to the rear of the principal structure. All dwellings shall meet the setback requirements established for the principal structure of the district in which they are located. The exterior of the dwelling shall be compatible with the principal residence in terms of color, siding, roof pitch, window detailing, roofing materials, and foundation or skirting appearance. Manufactured homes shall not be pulled up to or attached to the principal residence and be considered a dwelling or accessory apartment. Where there is no public sanitary sewer service, the accessory dwelling, the county health department shall approve sanitary sewer services provided to such dwelling before construction begins. According to the submitted application, the applicant is requesting the conditional use permit to construct a 12-foot wide by 12 or by 24 foot deep, roughly 288 square feet accessory dwelling to be located at the rear yard of the property. Currently, the property is occupied by a single story, roughly 1,200 square foot single family dwelling. Staff has informed the applicant of the fact that the proposed accessory dwelling must be constructed to meet the minimum requirements of the North Carolina State Building Code, as well as the supplemental regulations that I just described to you. If the applicant request for a conditional use permit is approved, building elevations, a site plan, floor plan, and construction specifications shall be submitted to the planning department and approved by city staff before building permits can be issued. At this time, there is no action necessary, and the Planning Commission will have a recommendation for council at your June 7th meeting.
Okay, this is a public hearing, and if anyone in the audience would like to come forward and speak for or against this, you may do so. And if you do, you need to be sworn in. Yes, sir. So will you state your name, please, and address?
Name is David Hood. So this is concerning my residence. The planning department, good evening, by the way.
Sure.
Planning department asked me to come by and give a general why I wanted to do this and answer any questions anyone might have. So I'm getting married in December, and me and my fiance are working on renovating the house to make it more, updating it. But her family lives in India, so when they travel here, I was wanting to have a space so they could not feel like they're intruding too much. A space that they can stay, because when you travel that far, it's a long trip. And so when they come by, they don't just come for a week or two. So when my mother-in-law or brother-in-law come over, they're not just staying for a week and then going home. They're going to be staying for maybe a month, maybe two, potentially. And I wanted to add this so it would allow them a place to stay, not permanently, obviously, but so they don't feel like they're intruding, and just make them feel like part of my family, essentially. And give them a space. Sorry, I'm repeating myself. I'm very nervous.
Don't be nervous. Well,
but if anyone has any questions specifically about it, I would like to answer anything, or if I don't know what else I could say. I'm sorry.
Well, I think Jennifer mentioned you'll go before the planning commission,
Right.
And they will have an opportunity to speak to you.
Yeah.
And then it will come back with their recommendations at a later time.
Yeah.
But for now, does any council member have anything to say?
I have read over the paperwork about what they gave me about it matching and everything like that. It will match the house. I'm going to put it about 12 feet back. So from the 12 feet back and line it up with the side of the house. So from, say, if someone's driving by, they won't even notice it. It's just going to look like an extension to the house itself.
Okay.
The issue with making it match via the roof or the siding, that's not going to be an issue. It's a white house with a white, red or black roof on my current home. That's super easy to just do the vinyl siding with the black shingles on this. I do already have a contractor who will help me to make sure everything is up to code and everything like that. He has already talked to the plumbing inspector for Goldsboro, and we have confirmed that the house would be able to be attached to the sewer. So I have done a bit of legwork already in preparation for this. The one thing I've not done yet is started buying anything, because obviously I'm not going to do that, especially considering how expensive everything is now.
Sure.
Until we've heard something.
Good. That's all right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak for CU 621? If not, I'll close the public hearing for this item. I'll open the public hearing for Z421 Faith Christian Academy. Jennifer?
Item E is a rezoning, is Z421 Faith Christian Academy. It's located on the south side of West US 70 Highway between Hargrove Street and US 117 Highway. The subject properties are adjacent to a larger tract owned by the applicant, currently zoned office and institutional. The subject properties are associated with the operation of a private school and church formerly known as Faith Christian Academy and Faith Free Will Baptist Church. The applicant requests a change of zone for 3 parcels of the property from general business to office and institutional for the construction of a multi-purpose soccer field. If the change of zone is approved, city staff will require a recombination of the individual properties into 1 parcel, as well as site plan approval for the proposed multi-purpose soccer field before construction permits are issued. Surrounding zonings: to the north, you have general business; to the south, office and institutional; to the east, general business; and to the west, office and institutional. The subject properties were previously used for pre-K classroom facilities, playgrounds, student loading and unloading zones, and staff parking. The existing facilities were relocated to the rear of the site, and now the subject properties are clear and vacant. The city's comprehensive land use plan recommends commercial development. Proposed zoning for the property is compatible with the principal use and adjacent properties in the area. The subject properties are located in a special flood hazard area known as the city's 100-year floodplain. Any proposed development must meet city engineering requirements before construction permits can be issued. I did include the site plan that's been submitted for our review with regards to the soccer fields that, if rezoned, that is the intent use of the property. This is a street view of the property in question. If you recall, as mentioned, there was a pre-K school there. That building has been demolished, and the soccer field is proposed in this location. At this time, there is no action necessary, and the Planning Commission will hold a recommendation for council's meeting on June 7th. Any questions for staff?
Any questions? Okay, this is a public hearing for Z 421 Faith Christian Academy. Is there anyone that would like to speak for or against this item? There be none. I'll close the public hearing for that. Next item is ordinance major amendment, an update to the Unified Development Ordinance and planning.
Item F is a public hearing for our Unified Development Ordinance update. The City Council at their meeting held on December the 7th of 2020 adopted a resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a contract with Stewart Incorporated for the Unified Development Ordinance update assistance to reflect the Chapter 160D reorganization. In 2019, the North Carolina General Assembly adopted a complete reorganization of the state's planning and development regulation statutes and named it Chapter 160D. To conform to this new regulatory and statutory framework, every city and county development regulation in the state of North Carolina must update his or her ordinances by July 1st of 2021. The City of Goldsboro first adopted its Unified Development Ordinance in 2005 and has amended it from time to time over the past 15 years. The main purpose of the update is to focus on the reorganization mandated by Chapter 160D as reflected within our current Article 2 approvals. However, the update also includes necessary revisions of the following articles within the existing UDO. Article 5, as it relates to general setback, height, and area standards, table of permitted uses, and supplemental use regulations, as well as the Historic Preservation Overlay District. Article 6, as it relates to parking standards. Article 8, to ensure that all boards and commissions reflect the recent update of the City of Code of Ordinances, Chapter 32, and Article 9, definitions to reflect changes in update terminology used within the ordinance. Stewart proposed a work program that divided the update into 3 phases. Phase 1 was project initiation, Phase 2, UDO preparation and composition, and Phase 3 would be adoption. City Council was briefed early March and gave guidance to the consultant and staff regarding the preparation of the final draft. The draft is now available for public review and will be presented to the Planning Commission for a recommendation at their May 24th, 2021 meeting. At this time, there is no action necessary, but Planning Commission will have a recommendation for you on your June 7th meeting. Jay McLeod with Stewart is present and will provide council with a brief presentation regarding the update prior to opening the public hearing for any comments.
Okay, this is open. Public hearing for the ordinance major amendment. Is anyone that would like to come and speak? Would you give the clerk your name, please?
Yes, sir. Jay McLeod with Stewart, and we're based at 223 Southwest Street in Raleigh. Thanks for having me again. It was nice to see you all at the council retreat, and glad to see you again this evening. So I just wanted to give you a quick review of the 160D kind of work plan and what's been accomplished. This is the project team there. The majority of us are former municipal planners, so we understand how code works and how it gets implemented, and we bring that experience when we do code updates. As Jennifer mentioned, and she mentioned a lot, so this might be a little duplicative, but 160D is something that's been required by the state legislature of all municipalities and counties in the state, and for the most part it just combines the previous ordinances into one, because it used to be one said one thing and the other said the same thing, and so it was just too much. The deadline for compliance is July 1st, and then other than that, the project schedule for this was kind of aggressive, but we got everything in and reviewed by staff and had discussions about items that were, that needed a little bit extra review, and of course we started with you all and got your input at the beginning. And then Jennifer also mentioned a tentative adoption schedule. 160D, like I said, combines the county and municipal planning and zoning enabling legislation across the state. Everyone's going through this right about now. Some people finished a little early, some people are finishing later than us. For the most part, it clarifies terminology and decision types, and what that generally means, and I won't read this to you. It looks like some of the text got killed, but that's okay. What it generally means is that decision types are now one of 3 types: administrative, quasi-judicial, or legislative. And there are various trade-offs depending on your perspective to each one of those. But The long and short of it is that the council is still in charge of the rules and the standards, and whether that's through a rezoning map amendment or through an ordinance amendment like this is. When there are requests to vary those rules, those are quasi-judicial, and they're either heard by a board that the council designates, whether that's the Board of Adjustment or the council themselves. We've tried to preserve as much of the previous structure as was possible, so for the most part, those decisions still go to the same people that they used to, although they might be called something slightly different. All other requests are processed administratively, which means you either meet the standards or you don't, and you get a permit or you don't. So overall, the structure kind of looks like this. You can kind of see on the right-hand side, conditional use permit the terminology was made obsolete by the state legislature, so those have kind of been transitioned to a special type of special use permit. It's the same procedure, but it's called something a little different, and it still goes to council. The Board of Adjustment will continue to hear the lower order special use permits, or I guess maybe not lower order, but maybe less controversial sometimes. The subdivisions and site plans, since they are administrative and they are kind of the standards are established when council rezones a piece of property, those are being handled administratively. Again, this was kind of the guidance we established and received. Subdivision is a by right process established at the time of rezoning. Those standards are established then, so they'll be processed administratively. Likewise with site plan review and non-residential site plans. Conditional rezonings, you all already had kind of a process in place. It's just transitioned from being a combined legislative quasi-judicial process to being strictly legislative. Generally speaking, I think the public will probably find that more accessible, which is usually a good thing. And the existing rights from previously approved entitlements and approved developments will continue to be effective. So no loss of service there. Like I said, conditional use permits have changed in terminology, so they'll go to combination of the council and the BOA, Board of Adjustment. Variances will go to the Board of Adjustment. Those are requests to vary the administrative standards in the ordinance. I know you all know a lot of this, so forgive me for restating it for the record. And as Jennifer mentioned, there were a few updates that were rolled in that were not related necessarily to Chapter 160D, but we feel like they were addressing some issues that needed to be addressed and were identified in the initial stages of the request for service. And then with that, I'm happy to answer any questions. I will be presenting something very similar to the planning board on Monday, and we'll be talking through any questions that they may have as well. So if you have any questions.
I think that we've had exposure to this, these changes by Jennifer previously, and I'll speak for myself. I think they are going to make a more expeditious process, but not take anything out of the approving channels per se. I mean, we still have the approving authority if need be on most of the items.
Yes, sir. I mean, the council sets the ordinance and determines the ordinance, right. And then kind of one of the big things for Chapter 160D was I think some jurisdictions were maybe picking favorites, and so I think the development community perhaps was a little frustrated by that, and so there's a lot of due process protection kind of built into those three decision types in 160D, and so that kind of ensures that those rules are applied fairly across the board. But the council still sets the rules and determines where it's applied, and that's really
what I was meaning when I said approving.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes.
Any comments or questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Appreciate your time this evening.
Before we go into public comment, in my moments of depression with seeing Melissa's reading her resolution, I forgot to have us adopt that resolution. So I would ask for a motion to adopt the resolution expressing appreciation to Melissa Couch for service to the city of Goldsboro for more than 16 years. Be adopted.
Move to adopt.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Raise your hand. Okay. You got a majority rule. Thank you.
You're official now.
Okay, I'll open up the public comment period. and remind people that would like to speak, we have established a 30-minute period of 3 minutes per speaker. And I would hope that people speaking would adhere to that. And we have a clock here for you to look at if you need to do so. Is there anyone that would like to come forward and speak? State your name, sir.
Yes, sir. My name is Dr. David Craig. I live at 509 Shelley Drive, Goldsboro, North Carolina, 27534. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. I want to bring it to the council's attention that more than 2 years ago, the people in my neighborhood were promised that my street, Shelley Drive, would be paved. And it has not occurred. It actually appeared in the Goldsboro News Argus in the spring of 2019. And then in the fall of 2019, directly after the elections, I appeared before you and I asked, why wasn't my street paved? And there was the suggestion made that, well, the materials cost a little bit more during the fall, so, you know, it's kind of like a supply and demand type of thing. That was 2 years ago. My street still has not been paved. And I just want to leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Craig?
Yes, sir.
We will look into that. The city manager or the city engineer will get back in touch with you on that issue.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And I'm not talking about 3 weeks from now or 2 weeks from now. I'm talking about this week sometime.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
The information tonight, don't you?
Yes, the city engineer can give you an answer.
He has the information for you, Dr. Craig.
Yes. Doctor, we've got Shelley Drive on the current list.
Okay.
It's going to be, I'm going to ask council to award tonight. So, and it'll go under construction within probably a month and a half from there.
Okay. Thank you, sir. I just want to, reiterate that my street was on a list 2 years ago.
Mine was too.
All right. You're with me. Thank you.
You're with me.
Thank you, Dr. Craig.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else to speak? Mr. Martin?
My name is Paul Martin. I live at 801 South Baines Place. And I saw the recording or the video of the last meeting of the Commission on Community Relations and Development. And I was very pleased to see that finally some attention is going to be focused towards the Commission on Community Development aspects. Very pleased to hear that that is something that is going to be considered and there will be some focus given to it because, as I indicated to them in the past, most of the attention of that commission has been focused on public relations and very little has been focused on community development, and that is part of their responsibilities. There is something else that concerns me, and that is that I tend to want to follow rules, laws, those types of things. And it came to my attention that there were some violations that were committed by that committee. And those violations involve what appears to be an election. An election which was held without public notice and in violation of the bylaws. The election was held in January. The bylaws calls for elections to be held in July. The term of office also is 1 year. And with elections being held every July and one being held in January, that means that a new chair was elected to a 1-year term, which will not expire until next January, instead of July, as the bylaws call for. So I think that is something that needs to be looked at. And one suggestion that I would make is the person who was chair in December was apparently elected vice chair, I believe, in the meeting that was held in January. And he does not appear to have any issues with the change that was made in his position. So technically, he would need to resign, and that would then open up the unexpired term for the election to take place of the chair who's currently serving. So I think that that's an issue that should be addressed, and I just wanted to bring that to your attention. I think that there has been some vast improvements, and I hope that those improvements will continue with that commission. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I would ask our city attorney to look into those issues, Ron, and advise us what actions we should take, or they should take, as the case may be. Okay, is there anyone else that would like to speak?
Good evening, Mayor Pro Temp, council members. My name is Charles Wright. I live at 200 Tanya Drive. We'll be fast. I have a lot of information I want to share with you. But this concerns the American Rescue Plan of the $8.8 million that's been allotted to Goldsboro. I'm addressing what I would call a more equitable, proportional, and compassionate use of this money. It's addressing disproportionate public health and economic impacts of low-income communities targeting qualified central census tracts. Now, that's directly from the North Carolina School of Government at UNC, that particular language. I just want to break down what that means. This is just another way of commissioners can look at how this money can be allocated. Now, I got this map for our planning department. This is one of the biggest ones they made. They did charge me this time around for it, but they do come as small as 80 by 11. So I invite the council members to do that, because a lot of our money that we get depends on what you're seeing here. When we get money for disasters, when we get money from HUD. Now, what I'm proposing and what you see here is census tracts that's in red. Those are areas which we has the highest percentage of low to moderate income. So it makes sense that part of this money proportionately should be addressed to these three districts, which are District 1, District 3, and District 4. And if you look at your paper, you see 17%, 21%, 21%, and 42%. That comes right out of our community development block grant. That's where those figures come from, and our community development block grant that we do every year. Also, that came out of similar figures was used with our disaster, community development block grant disaster recovery. And what I'm inviting each of the councilmen to do is, I'm assuming you've already had your briefing on the categories of what this money can be used for. Look at your individual opportunity tracks, and you decide if the best use of this money, whatever it is, if you feel the best use of this money for your particular district is flood water or sewage or whatever, then so be it. But stress the independence of your districts and what their potential needs are based upon the disproportionate public health and economic impacts. And all that means is whether we have a storm, a disease, an epidemic, these areas that I've identified here in red, these are the ones that's going to be hit the hardest. So my time is up very quickly, but I did put a lot of research as always. In fact, some of this I brought up years ago when Hurricane Matthew came up, and I tried to get the city to look at this, look at the opportunities that they have to spend. So as usual, it may not be customary, but I always like to ask, tell the council I'd be more than pleased to answer any questions or comments you have while I'm at the podium. Does any councilman have any comments or questions?
Excuse me, Mayor Pro Tem, it looks like Mr. Wright has one more area of interest on this list, and I am asking for permission or at least a minute for him to address this last issue on his list.
Go ahead.
If that's okay.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, is that as far as the bolstering the
Yes, sir.
police? I did put that down as a secondary issue only because it came up in the news. And what my concern is, number one, I was the one that originally brought up CALEA, Certified Accommodation Law Enforcement Agencies, probably about 14 years. And it took about 9 years and 3 city board groups. So you may not even know that because it started not in the council before you, but the one before that one. So that's back with Mayor King, and I brought that up. And I think when we finally got it, we was working, we had fairly good relations with our police department. And the police department just held an open seminar online, and people was able to communicate with the police chief, and he was able to share information. And I was kind of taken back that he said nothing about not having support or lackluster support or anything to that matter. In fact, you know, and I did read, Mayor Pro Tem, where you made comments about what other cities and press, and we all know what other cities and what press in other cities are saying or have their different experiences with the police. But for the last couple of years, I think our police have been mainly on a fair track. I mean, we haven't had, or at least that I know of, any shootings or anything. So I was kind of dismayed about that. Recent statistics says, it was just in the paper a couple of days ago, we had 65% misdemeanors. I mean, even a couple of drunks that was just picked up off the street. And we had 30% felony. So to me, that's not bad. We've always had turnover. And I think that the ongoing problem I've always seen with the Goldsboro Police Department has been minority employment. We have a minority employment of something about probably about 8%, which is bad. It's very bad, with about a 64% minority population and an 8% minority police department. Those are figures similar to a town called Ferguson, Missouri. And that was one of their problems, where all the police officers lived out of the area. They didn't know them. They didn't have anything invested. They didn't look like them. And they just felt. So that continues to be probably my chief concern. And the only other concern I want to share with you is just something that the chief said. It says resources, including mutual response agencies, are pooled into Goldsboro area to help potential problems. That I identified about 5 years ago, because what I did not want to see, Councilman, is for our police department to be tagged up in doing missions with other agencies that are not CALEA certified. The whole purpose of Goldsboro Police Department being certified is that they have a plan for every encounter, car stops, how they're gonna do car stops, what information they're gonna have. Can you have 3 or 4 cars like what happened with me, where a car came in front of me, where a K9 dog car came across the street from me, and from another car came behind me. All to tell me the little side light of this old LTD I had was out. And I had that much response. Well, CALEA has a standard now, how? So I'm concerned when the chief says he's working with other agencies, whether they Wayne County Sheriff's Office or that A squad they have or something, that concerns me in that, are they gonna be pulled into a situation where they are taking action with the Wayne County Sheriff's Department that's not consistent with the CALEA standard and that they have on hand. So that's the last item that I did want to discuss. And again, I appreciate you giving me the extra time. I know I'm wordy, but I do read a lot. I do a lot of research.
Well, you always come with a lot of information, and it's well researched, and you're absolutely right.
Thank you.
In terms of your advocacy for the CALEA program. I remember even before I became a council member, for 2 or 3 years before that, attended meetings, and you were here advocating for that, and it finally happened. Yeah. And you know, you're probably one of the most responsible people for that. So thank you for your determination and your not giving up on it.
Do better with my visuals.
And you always have good visuals. Okay, Mr. Wright, thank you, sir.
Mr. Wright.
Thank you.
Mr. Wright, before you leave, I just wanted to chime in. As you know, I was a fireman and in public safety for 19 years before I transitioned over to Goldsboro High. And you're 100% right. Based on the demographics, there should be a better representation of minorities within these departments, not just police, but fire. But the biggest thing I see in my classroom, which I've taught this for 3 years, which I teach public safety, is the recruitment process. I've reached out, I literally sacrificed and chose Goldsboro High School specifically because it's central attendance school. But we just have to work more on recruitment. Out of a class of maybe 28 kids per period, half have been virtual due to Corona, but I've only had maybe 3 kids show interest. So maybe if I had more people such as yourself come out to my class and speak and speak of these issues, which I'll show my students this video tomorrow when I go to work. I always do a playback with them, but I always have advocated for that. And that's why I lived a career of a fireman to teach, to get them more interested, because it's really a cultural thing. When I started the fire department in '99, I think it was less than 12% then. I don't know what the numbers are now there, but I'm sure they're about the same. I don't think it's grown drastically, but I think that is something that we need to look at moving forward, is just recruiting and changing the culture of these jobs. But you're exactly right about that.
Well, Councilman Kolak and any councilman, I'd be more than glad to come out and speak to any group you have about most subjects that I've talked about, which has been plenty over the years. So that invitation go out to any churches or any of your private organizations, or if you want to have me come back and speak during a work session where I don't have a 3-minute limit, I'd be glad to come back and speak to the council on that.
I'd like to thank you so much for your report. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. Is there anyone else to speak during the public consent period? Being no one coming forward, I close the public comment period, and we'll go into the consent agenda. And
yes, sir. If I could just remind council, if there's any item of concern on the consent agenda, you might want to move it to items requiring individual action. Okay? Because if one thing holds you up from approving the consent agenda, obviously other things can't get approved.
which one is that?
Well, so specifically, I don't know if you're going to be concerned or not, but for item L and for item N, the ordinances, they need a supermajority the first time they're introduced. And that would be 5 votes, so you all would have to unanimously agree to vote for them. So I think they can be presented. If you, during your discussions, have an issue, I think at that time, right, Ron, it could be removed.
Yeah, you can go through the consent agenda items, and as it's presented to council, if there's a question about it, then you can remove it from the consent agenda, take it down to the items requiring individual action. And just so you know, the problem, this ordinance, because it's a first reading, requires a supermajority. But tonight, we only have 5 present out of the 7, so all 5 would have to approve it for it to pass. So that's why Mr. Salmon was saying if there's something else on the consent agenda, and maybe you're okay with items L and N, but if it's another item that you're not okay with, one of you is not okay with one of the other items, and they vote against the whole consent agenda, well then that means L and N wouldn't pass either, because it requires all 5. Unanimous tonight is unanimous because there's 5 out of 7 here. It requires 5 out of 7, period.
So Mr. Salmon, to address item L, since that's the one you brought up, Dr. Craig had mentioned his street being repaved, so that would be under that,
Yes.
based on.
His streets in the.
Gotcha.
Each of these will be presented as normal, but I'm just
Right.
saying, if during the process you don't like it for some reason, you think you would vote against the whole consent agenda
Got it,
because of
understand.
it, we should
Yes,
move
sir.
it to items requiring individual action and vote separately.
Yeah, or any other item other than,
Right.
other than L or.
Okay.
Yeah, if there's another one.
I just
you
wanted to
think
make sure
we'll
that
move it. If
that
the other
was-
ones are good, then we're good.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Okay, we'll go through them, hear them all, and then we'll come back for the vote. Or
So if
take-
y'all have a
take them
question
off
about
if necessary. Okay. First one is to amend the contract for audit services for fiscal year ending June 30, 2019.
So my first item is to amend the contract date for the completion date of May 18th, 2021 for the audit ending June 30 of 2019. The Local Government Commission requires the boards to approve by resolution the contract amendment. There is no money change in this, it's just a change of the completion date. I came back to the council, I think it was in October, to amend that contract date to December 31. So now I'm just asking to amend it through May 18th so the LGC will approve the contract and we can complete paying the auditors for their work.
Okay, any questions? Okay.
My next item is to award the contract for audit services for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2020 to Dixon Hughes Goodman LLP. As we spoke about GS 15934, which requires the annual independent audit. The auditor is selected by and shall report to directly to the governing board. In May 2019, we conducted a request for proposal, and Dixon Hughes Goodman was selected. The fiscal year 2020 audit cost is $53,200. The firm is active and in good standing with the North Carolina State Board of Certified Public Accountant Examiners. The partner in charge, John Frank, whom you met tonight, is also active and in good standing as a certified public accountant. So once the council approves a resolution tonight to enter into the contract, then we will be able to submit that to the Local Government Commission for approval. And at that point in time, we will be allowed to start working with them on the 2020 audit. So we just ask for your approval tonight on that resolution.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Yes, sir.
They obviously have had some discussions with you about this, but not seen the data necessarily. What time period have they given you or suggested?
So we have to work in conjunction with that because obviously you all know I am deep in budget for 2022 right now, and I will be until we get it adopted in mid-June. And so I told them, I think we could have it done by the end of October, October 31. That is our goal. I mean, and it depends because if another emergency or, I have some kind of issue with staffing, so a lot of things can happen. I think it's possible, and I do think getting the books done because we've, got good beginning balances now. We've been through a lot of processes. We've cleaned up a lot of records. We're establishing a lot of new procedures. So I think it'll be a smoother audit for 2020 than it was for 2019.
Let's hope so.
Yes,
Let's
sir.
hope so.
Yes, sir. I'm very hopeful of that.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Next one is the authorization for disposal of real property.
Yes, sir. So you heard tonight from Mr. Murphy and Sheriff Pierce and Hope Restorations, and so I was asked to prepare the paperwork to authorize the disposal of real property under General Statute 160A 279, which is the sale of property to entities carrying out a public purpose for 807 Nile Street to Hope Restorations, Inc. And of course, we're talking about sale in terms of it's $1, so essentially you're giving that property. They are a nonprofit. I have checked the Secretary of State website. They are active and in good standing. The Wayne County Board of Commissioners did approve the donation and transfer to the city of Goldsboro since it's within the city limits at their last meeting. So at the time that I prepared this, of course, you know, I don't know if the deed actually got transferred. So when I prepared the resolution for you to approve, it says jointly owned, and it may still be so, but if we need to adjust that language, we can. But we have 807 Nile Street, and that parcel had a value of $25,450. So tonight, what we are asking you is to approve the disposal and donation. And really, you're approving it being called surplus property at this point for 807 Nile Street to Hope Restorations, Inc., which is a nonprofit, and adopt the attached resolution to authorize staff to execute the paperwork to transfer the property.
Any questions?
Okay, my next item is a resolution accepting the Federal American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 funding for the city of Goldsboro. As our manager, Tim Salmon, has informed you, March 11th, the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, or ARP, was signed into law by President Biden. The $1.88 trillion coronavirus relief package allocated $350 billion in state and local fiscal recovery funds, of which about $2 billion was allocated directly to North Carolina counties and $1.3 billion was allocated to municipality. And there is no match that is required for the grant. The city of Goldsboro is an entitlement city and is scheduled to receive $8,813,000 directly from the federal government as part of that $1.3 billion allocation to North Carolina municipalities. And so what the advisement we have had from the School of Government is that we should have our boards and councils accept by resolution the federal grant money. You know, I have been on the website, and we actually have to apply for the money, but I have to have the council's authority to do so. And so as soon as we get this approved tomorrow, my plan is to go in and get that money applied for, because it has been allocated to Goldsboro. That amount is a firm amount. So we're just asking that you adopt that resolution to accept the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021 grant to the city of Goldsboro, and it will authorize me as your designated agent to draw down those funds. Okay? I think that's my
Yes,
last
you're
slide.
finished. Thank you.
Back after me.
Thank you, Captain.
I'll give you a segue. I have item K on the consent agenda. It's the contract award for the 2021 bituminous concrete resurfacing project. We received 4 bids, as you can see on the agenda item. Barnhill Contracting submitted the lowest bid of $1,786,716.78. It consists of about 80,500 square yards of resurfacing and 51,200 square yards of milling, and some other minor items. Currently, we only have $1,653,500 available. That's made up of $1,466,000 in street bonds that are left. This will complete the street bonds if you award this contract. And then we had $187,500 for another project, and this is where item L will come in and is associated with this. Staff recommends City Council by motion adopt the attached resolution authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a contract in the amount of $1,653,500 with Barnhill Contracting Company for the 2021 bituminous concrete resurfacing project. And we did negotiate with Barnhill to bring it down from their bid. It was like about a 10%
Good.
drop. So,
Good.
any questions?
And then my last item for the evening is amending a capital project fund ordinance, the Street Improvements Capital Project Fund. On August 18th, 2018, City Council established the Street Improvements Capital Project Fund to administer the street improvements construction that was funded by general obligation bonds in the amount of $4,500,000 sold on July 24th, 2018. As you just heard Mr. Anderson give you the final results of the formal bid process. There were not enough funds left in the project funds, so what Mr. Anderson has suggested is that we reduce in the general fund the current operating line item for paving multi-use areas that was allocated for an NCDOT project that will not be used in fiscal year 2021. The amount of that transfer is $187,500. And also during this time, while we have held those bonds in escrow pending construction, there has been investment interest that is accumulated in the amount of $118,200. And this will fund debt issuance costs, and then which of the $108,000 which were incurred in 2018, and then the rest will offset any additional construction costs. So tonight we're asking you by motion to adopt the capital project ordinance amendment in the amount of $305,700. And the reason that that is necessary with the supermajority, because if this does not pass, his formal bid cannot pass, because we cannot issue the bid if the funds are not there. So that's the importance of that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any questions on that item? Okay, thank you. So we come back to Marty again.
My last item for the night is item M. It's a change order number 28 for the Phase 4 sewer collection rehabilitation. This is basically paving Mulberry Street from William to Daisy. And although we say it's a 70-30 split between us and the state, we got notification about 3 o'clock this afternoon. The state has agreed to reimburse us 100% of the costs. So staff recommends City Council by motion adopt the attached resolution. The funds are available from the Clean Water Revolving Fund loan. The staff recommends City Council by motion adopt the attached resolution authorizing the city manager to execute a change order for $95,056.23 with TA Loving Company contingent upon DWI approval, which we already have.
And the state's paying.
And the state's paying
100%.
Well, reimbursing us 100%. We gotta pay for it and then get it back. Yeah.
Good. Good.
Any questions?
Any questions?
I do really quick. On the sheet that you provided us, the orange, can you explain that to me?
Yeah.
If you don't mind.
I told the city manager I skipped over that when I did that agenda item. What you're looking at is the list of streets that we have in this contract that you're about to award. The streets that are, well, Mulberry Street, you see in green, that's the one the item M takes care of. So those were zeroed out in our list and will get done. We removed Murray Street, Corbett Street, Burtis, Darby Place, Darby Road, Forest Drive, and Mimosa Park Drive from the list to get it down to the money we have available. And you can see one street came from District 1, one came from District 2, and then several came from District 6. But that's what that list is.
So is it safe to say these streets will be added to the front of the line when we?
Correct. The ones in orange will be added to the list first for next year. council adopts a budget that finances resurfacing. Any other questions?
I do. I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't see a street on here that's in my district, and it's Carolina Street. And there are several potholes there, and it is very important that we pave that street because a lot of heavy-duty trucks go through there to the Franklinburg Bakery.
Yes, ma'am. We have a lot of sewer rehab going on in that area, and that's why we have I've known about Carolina Street for 4 or 5 years now, and we were waiting to get done with sewer rehab first so we don't go tearing up a newly paved street. And so that one will get added in the near future. It's in desperate need. I agree.
Yes,
I totally
it is.
agree with you. But
So
we're
you
waiting.
said the near future
You don't want to pave it and then dig it up for sewer rehab. So we were postponing it until we got done with the sewer rehab stuff. And that's going on right now and hopefully be done this summer. So next year we can get it paved.
Well, is there anything that you can do? I mean, there are several potholes there, and it is just tearing up individual car alignments as well as the heavy-duty trucks. What else can be done there?
Public Works could take care of the potholes temporarily until we can get the entire road resurfaced.
Okay, thank you. I really would appreciate it.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Any other questions?
I was gonna ask the same thing, similar to what she said. About, I guess, 2 months ago, had a contractor come out and do the gas line right there on Mulberry in front of a lot of our houses. And they didn't even put, a minimal amount of rock. And it's like she said, there are cutouts in the road. Is that something temporarily the city would do? Because the guy told me he'd be back in 2 weeks to fix even a chunk of sidewalk. I've got cones in a section of my walkway.
Yeah.
They just kind of vacated the job, and it's been, I guess, about a month, over a month.
They operate on their own schedule.
Okay.
I will admit that, and it's hard for us to chase them down and get them.
Yes, sir.
You know, I have a department of 10 people, that is including myself. So, but, you know, we try to work with these utility companies to get them to fix stuff like they're supposed to.
Yes, sir.
In a timely fashion. But I think that would be, going and fixing their cuts would not be something we would want to get into.
Yeah, you've had those cones a while.
I've had them for over a month.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Any other questions? Okay, thank you,
Thank
Marty.
you.
Public Works.
Evening, Mayor Pro Tem, Council. I have items N and O tonight. Item N is an update to Chapter 92 entitled Cemeteries of the Code of Ordinances. Chapter 92 of the City's Code of Ordinances has multiple sections that are dated and ambiguous. Several specific areas of concern that have been raised recently involve the number of interments per gravesite, installation of footings and memorials, number and type of memorials per gravesite, disposition of flowers and arrangements left on gravesites, and that's just to mention a few. To better accommodate families and avoid any ambiguity with regards to the city cemetery operations and general provisions, Chapter 92 of the Code of Ordinances needs to be updated. 14 of the 27 sections have recommended changes that I provided. It's recommended City Council adopt the suggested updates to Chapter 92 entitled Cemeteries of the City of Goldsboro's Code of Ordinances as outlined in the attached ordinance. Any questions?
Rick, can you speak in general what you're trying to do with the ordinance?
Right. Some of the things I just mentioned, number of interments per grave site was one that keeps coming up when it comes to having multiple interments. Your typical grave site, traditional grave site can only have one with the casket, but if you have remains, cremated remains with an urn, we're suggesting you can have up to 3. You can only have one primary headstone, but then your other memorials that you put out there, the flat stones, you can have 2 others. That's been a common question. People come out, in fact, we've had some come out and want to inter on top of a traditional grave site, and you just can't. There's not enough depth there to put an urn on top of one. So we checked with other cemeteries in local areas, and they have similar guidelines as well. But we'll allow up to 3 interments if they're cremations per gravesite. There's a lot of ambiguity. When I started reading the ordinance, they referred to memorials, and they referred to monuments, and they referred to headstones. And so actually, the first part of that, or one section of that, I outlined what they actually are. Everything is referred to as a memorial. A headstone's a memorial. A monument's a memorial. A marker is a memorial. So the verbiage in there, to me, makes a lot more sense to it. It's easier to read and comprehend. Some of the things with the disposition of flowers, with the maintenance of the grave, with the cemeteries, it's high maintenance. Having to weed eat around all the headstones. You use mowers where you can, but the more stuff that we get out there, it's harder to maintain. Some things blow when the winds get up. It just makes it unkempt. So we've put some verbiage in here to help control some of those as well. And that's, in a nutshell, that's some of the stuff that was highlighted in there.
So I've read through this. I don't know if others have or not, but do you have any questions on it?
No question.
Okay, sir.
Item O follows suit with item N. Basically, the proposed changes to Chapter 92 that I just brought up subsequently require cemetery fees to be updated. Additionally, while we were doing this, we also reviewed additional fees that were reflected. Additional fees that are all reflected in the proposed resolution have been reviewed to ensure that they are comparable to the current rates as well. Since we were doing this, we wanted to make sure that there were no major changes in the rates compared to local cemeteries. The attached resolution of the cemetery fee schedule reflects the most recent reviewed and updated cemetery fees. The only update was replacing the Foundation for Monuments fee with a permit to install cemetery memorial fee. Approval of the attached resolution would update the fee schedule to coincide with the most recent changes to Chapter 92 entitled Cemeteries of the Code of Ordinances. There will be a permit fee now where we go out and there's a process we'll go through to ensure proper placement of memorials, any memorial, whether it's a monument or a headstone or a marker. And there's actually, I think I included the permit for you to review as well. It actually has some of the guidance that's stipulated on the permit to clarify, again, to make this not so complicated and easily understandable. Any questions?
So I'm just taking a second to read it. On the disposition of spent flowers and arrangements, I see here where it says during grass mowing season there are certain things that are prohibited, but I'm just considering like if it's a birthday or something like that, and I get what you're saying and I get the cleanup process, but it does say any exceptions for display and decorations must be coordinated. So you are saying that there is a possible...
Always. These are people's family members, and we go out of our way to accommodate whenever we can. If they're willing to work with us and put stuff on the stones so they're attached and don't blow away, we'll work with them. We can have flowers stay out longer as long as they prearrange it, and we can have some type of control over it.
Any other comments or questions?
I'm good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Rick.
Okay, departmental monthly reports. There was given, is any questions or comments on the departmental reports? If not, I'd like a motion to entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items G through P.
I make a motion that we approve consent agenda items G through P.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mayor Pro Tem Ham,
Yes.
Councilmember Jones,
Yes.
Councilmember Broadway,
Yes.
Councilmember Polat.
Yes.
Councilmember Matthews.
Yes.
Okay, motion is approved. Next item is items requiring individual action. We don't have any, so I'll go to the city manager's report.
Sir, thank you. I would like to thank everyone for the presentations this evening. I thought they were excellent, and I hope council got everything they expected out of them. I'd also like to thank Melissa Capps again for everything she's done. She will be missed. I'm very proud of her and what she's done, and I know she's going to do great things at her next job. Thank you, Melissa.
I believe Mayor Broadway, Councilman Broadway has a resolution to read.
I have a resolution. I have a resolution for Captain Teresa Chero, and she couldn't be here tonight because she's in the hospital. So I'm going to read this resolution on her retirement anyway. Whereas Teresa Chero retires on June the 1st, 2021 as a police captain with the Goldsboro Police Department with more than 27 years of service. And whereas Teresa began her career on February the 9th, 1994 as a police officer with the Goldsboro Police Department, whereas on December the 1st, 1999, Teresa was promoted to police investigator with the Goldsboro Police Department, whereas on June the 25th, 2003, Teresa was promoted to police sergeant with the Goldsboro Police Department, whereas on August the 26th, 2009, Teresa was promoted to police shift supervisor with the Goldsboro Police Department, whereas on April the 2nd, 2014, Teresa's position was reclassified as police captain, where she served until her retirement. And whereas Teresa has proven herself to be a dedicated and efficient public servant who has gained the admiration and respect of her fellow workers and citizens of the city of Goldsboro, and whereas the mayor and city council of the city of Goldsboro are desirous on behalf of themselves, city employees, and the citizens of the city of Goldsboro of expressing to Teresa their deep appreciation and gratitude for the service rendered by her to the city over the years. Now therefore be it resolved by the mayor and city council of the city of Goldsboro, North Carolina, we express to Teresa our very best wishes for success, happiness, prosperity, and good health in her future endeavors. This resolution shall be incorporated into the official minutes of the city of Goldsboro and shall be in full force and effect from and after the 17th day. I offer this as a motion, sir.
Thank you. We have a motion to adopt the resolution.
So moved.
You made a motion?
Yeah.
Then second?
Second.
Second. All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. We're coming near the end of this, so I'll ask for comments if you have any, starting with Councilwoman Jones over here.
Yes, we're in District 1. We're still continuing with our cleanup. And I did have a question that I probably should have asked earlier, because we're finding that vacant houses that have trash cans and recycle bins, they're being filled, and there's no one there. On Isla Street, there are a couple of empty houses, but the trash is always there. And I wanted to know what the process was to handling that.
Abandoned homes?
Yes, they're abandoned homes, but there's still trash cans and recycling bins, and it's still it's full.
Well,
And no one lives there, so do you still pick up from?
At the street or right next to the house?
They're in front of the house.
Okay, I'll check into it tomorrow.
Okay. And then there's another issue on 614 Isla Street as well. This is Popular. I'm sorry. The first one is Popular. I apologize. The other one is 614 Isla. I'll get with you if you know. The other one is 614 Isla. There is when I first talked with the person there, she was concerned about the moccasins coming up to her house. Now, when I first investigated, they said that it was I don't know what I'm talking about, blue line ditch.
We can do minimum maintenance to blue line ditch.
Okay. Now, I was told that we could put mothballs there. She has put mothballs there, but she's still having a problem. Now, there's some trees behind her, and I'm not sure whether it's city or county, but I think that those trees also, bushes also is not good because, you know, the snakes can run up in there. I'm afraid of a snake. I'm just sorry. And so, so, you know, I am concerned about this resident, and I did look into it earlier. So those are some things. Thank you.
Mayor Robert?
No comment, sir.
I just want to solicit prayers for all the students of Wayne County as they're getting prepared to take their testing. Being they've been faced with multiple obstacles from being limited to full access in the classroom to having to learn remotely. This challenge has not only been an obstacle for students, but teachers as well, so I would like to say thank you personally. I also want to thank all the city and county employees that have persevered and made it through all the adjustments. Last but not least, I want to give an early shout out to the Goldsboro alumni as they're preparing for their communication at the end of this month. Thank you.
Ms. Matthews?
No comment.
I want to mention a couple of things. One is, as you see, that we're sitting around here tonight without masks, and this is our first meeting. We're going by the directives that were issued by national and state directives, but we need to also keep in mind that the COVID is still present, that we don't just go willy-nilly around and not forget about that there is a COVID epidemic still there, maybe not to the degree it was a few months ago, but be careful how you conduct yourself and be aware of other people around you. Earlier I said when I was presenting the resolution to Melissa that Mayor Allen would have loved to have been here tonight to do this. Mayor Allen had a long relationship with Melissa. He had been here for 20 years. He's not gone officially yet. And I know that nothing would have pleased her or him anymore than the two of them having conducted that presentation. Both people cared a great deal about one another. They respected each other. And I hope Mayor Allen was watching tonight. I believe he was. And I'm sure that he shared the same sorrow that I do when you were leaving Melissa. But, you know, you two worked together very closely over those years. And I know he wishes you the very best success in the future. And with that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.